Hey family, it's Craig here with another video. And if you're here, if you decided to click on this video, then that means that you are either dealing with PTSD yourself or you're dealing with a family member or someone who's close to you who's dealing with PTSD. So regardless of what category you fall in, whether you're dealing with it or whether there's a family member that's dealing with PTSD, we're going to talk about it today. We're going to discuss how PTSD actually lives in the brain, and we're going to talk about 5 practical ways that you can begin to cope, heal, feel restored, and regain a sense of control. So let's get into it. This isn't really just a theory that we're talking about. This is actually real talk about PTSD. It's something that affects so many people, particularly veterans, but it also affects other people too. So this video can be helpful for you. What I want to do today is I want to ground this in science, but I also want to speak from the heart. I want to meet you exactly where you are, no matter what stage or age you're at, whatever you're struggling with, whatever aspect of PTSD you're struggling with. I want to meet you there and just give you some simple, practical, fundamental ways to deal with it. There's no pressure, no shame, no judgment, or anything like that. It's just an invitation to explore what it might look like for you. So let's get started. So the first thing we have to figure out is, what is PSD? What is PSD? Let's start there. PSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, some clinicians have decided and talked about taking that aspect disorder off because we don't want to stigmatize clients. So we could just refer to it as PTS, post-traumatic stress. That means any stress that you have after trauma. It is a natural human response to a deeply unnatural or overwhelming event. Now, this could have happened when you were a child. It could have happened when you were a grown up, an adult. It doesn't matter. It's just any human response to any kind of traumatic experience that you face. Okay. It's the brain's way of overcompensating and protecting us from dangerous situations. Okay. Uh, but sometimes what once was protective actually can become a prison. Your brain is there to protect you from the trauma, but it can also live. The trauma can also live in your brain, and now your brain turns against you. We often think about our bodies turning against us in an autoimmune deficient way, but we never really think about our brain turning against us and the form and expression that it uses as PTSD. So we're going to talk about that just a little bit today. So let me ask you, what symptoms have been showing up for you with regard to PTSD? How have they been affecting your relationships, your work, your peace, your family? Take a breath. It's okay to name what that is, and it's okay to name how it's affected you. You're responding to something that's real. It's not something that's fabricated in your brain. It's not something that you just made up. It's not something that is uh, far-fetched. You are actually dealing with something that's real, that's scientific, that's backed, that's an actual symptom of a deep mental health concern. So I want to normalize that for you, and I want to say that this is something that's real. So let's talk brain science for a bit. We're going to keep it simple, all right? PTSD reshapes 3 key parts of your brain. And I'm going to go a little slow here, okay? The first thing is the amygdala, right? It's the amygdala. Perhaps you've heard of the amygdala before. This is what's called the fear center of the brain, okay? When the fear center of the brain becomes overactive, it's kind of like a smoke detector in the middle of a fire, right? It keeps beeping, won't stop going off. It's to alert you, right, that there's smoke, but there's no fire, right? So that's the amygdala. It's the fear center, right? It's that red sort of alarm signal that's in your brain. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is the hippocampus. The hippocampus is what's called the memory center, all right? The memory center, it struggles to put traumatic memories in the past and kind of keep them in the past. That's why most people who struggle with PTSD, most people who struggle with post-traumatic stress, they say that it feels like it just happened, or it feels like it's happening in the moment. Okay. When actually the reality is it's not happening in the moment, but it can be so, the past experiences can be so real, they can be so evident that they feel like they're happening to you right now. And That's what the hippocampus focuses on. That's the memory center of the brain. Okay. The third thing we want to talk about is the prefrontal cortex. All right. Now, the prefrontal cortex is the rational part of your brain. All right. Um, Now, when traumatic events or experiences are happening, when you're going back to that memorable event, right? The thing that happened back in the past that feels like it's happening in the present. What's happening to your prefrontal cortex is getting quieter, right? And it makes it harder to make decisions, makes it harder to think clearly, makes it harder to think rationally, and it makes it harder, most importantly, to calm yourself down, all right? So this is how it affects the prefrontal cortex. Now, as we review this information, I want you to ask yourself, have you ever felt hijacked by your own brain? You want to think one thing, you want to calm yourself down, but it's like these forces in your brain just keep making you do something different than you want to do. Like something isn't dangerous. There's no threat, but your body still reacts in that way. Again, that's not a weakness. Let me normalize it for you. That's the wiring of your brain. But here's the good news. Your brain can heal itself, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, so you might be wondering, is change even possible for me if I'm dealing with post-traumatic stress? If all of these memories and all of these different noises and sounds and these different reminders and triggers, can I even heal from this? Can I even deal with this? Is change really possible? And the answer to that is absolutely positively yes. But the real question is, what would make healing possible in your life? If you could heal, kind of, if you, oftentimes as therapists, we ask what's called a miracle question, right? If everything in your life was straight, like if your brain was thinking exactly how it was supposed to do, right? What could be possible in your life if that were to occur, if that was your reality? And then the other thing is, what would you want to feel more of? Would you want to feel more peace? Would you want to feel more joy? Would you want to feel more serenity, connection, energy, sleep, right? Fitness, and just overall health? Let's get into 5 ways to start moving in that direction. Okay. Are you a veteran struggling with life after service, feeling down, stressed, overwhelmed, unsure how you're going to move forward? Well, I've got a program. It's called Live Royally, Live Well, and it's an 8-week virtual coaching program. It's designed just for you. We tackle the 7 biggest challenges veterans face, from PTSD and emotional wellness to career transition, financial stability, and navigating VA benefits. Each week with this program, you get live virtual coaching, you'll get targeted action-focused worksheets, you'll get personnel support in a limited capacity, and you'll get access to our private veteran community. In addition to that, we've got you back with 90 days of bonus Q&A just for free. So whether you're fresh out or years removed from military service, whether you're retired, whether you're coming up on separation, maybe you're still in the military, this program will help you regain your purpose, build your confidence, and thrive in your civilian life. So it's time to take back control, my friend. Enroll now and start living with resilience, power, and purpose. And remember, live royally and live well. Now back to the video in that direction. Okay? All right. So 5 ways to cope with PTSD living in the brain. All right. The first thing you have to do is you have to name your triggers without judging them. Now, this is an important step, because oftentimes we want to push those PTSD experiences away. But it's super important to name your triggers, and you don't want to judge those triggers, right? All right. So one of the things that you want to do is you have to realize that your brain is actually trying to protect you, right? Triggers, they aren't weaknesses. We've all got triggers. They aren't weaknesses, okay? They're signals, right? They're letting you know something. They're trying to tell you something, those triggers, okay? So one of the things you can do is you can start tracking what sets you off, when it sets you off. You can start tracking when those signals start to happen, when those feelings start to come up for you, and when those things start to occur. This could be in the form of sounds. This could be in the form of smells. This could be in the form of different objects that you see. Okay. What if instead of reacting to those things, you just got curious about them, right? What if you ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me right now? Where am I feeling this particular trigger in my body right now? This particular shift, this very small shift from judgment to curiosity, it's a powerful first step in dealing with and coping with PTSD that's living in the brain. Now, the second thing you want to do is you want to ground yourself in the moment. Now, this is going to sound very simplistic, but stay with me, okay? Now, when the past intrudes, when those thoughts start coming in, you want to use a grounding technique, and this is just an option for you. It's called 5-4-3-2-1. Very easy to remember. 5-4-3-2-1. Okay? It's 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. All right, I'm gonna go over that one more time. It's 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. Okay? This might feel a little silly at first, but your nervous system has to regulate itself and it needs signals of safety, right? So you want to identify that. It's very easy to remember. 5-4-3-2-1. The next thing you want to do is you want to move your body with a purpose, all right? One of the combatants to triggers of post-traumatic stress or anxiety or anything that lives in your body is to move with a purpose. PTSD lives in the body just as much as it lives in the brain, okay? Any kind of exercise or physical movement that you can do, whether it's walking, do a couple of push-ups, right? Whether it's biking, lifting weights, stretching, breathing, any kind of physical activity is going to be helpful in this moment, right? It can help release a lot of that stuck energy that you have on the inside, right? Okay, so when you're doing this, you want to ask yourself, what kind of movement feels good for me today? Because it'll be different every day. You know, you're not going to go out there and walk 5 or 10 miles. You're not going to run a 13.2 mile or 13.1 or 26.2 miles. Right? It's just half marathon and marathon. You're not going to do that every day. Okay. Some days it may be something like a walk around the block. Other days you might hit your row machine or something. You know, the next day it might be aerobics and the next day it might be yoga. What feels good for you that particular day? Okay. And remember, small steps count. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. All right. It's not about performance. It's about releasing your body to the freedom that it deserves. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to tell your story safely. This is so important because we want to prevent from re-triggering anything that might have come up for you in the past because we don't want to re-traumatize you as well. All right. So not all trauma needs to be shared with everyone. Okay. But someone safe, someone that you trust can actually help you to begin to process that trauma. This could be a therapist. This could be a coach. This could be a support group. This could be a really good friend who's mature, who you can trust with the information of your heart. Okay. You deserve to be heard without feeling judged, criticized, or like somebody needs to fix you. Okay. You ask yourself during this time, right? Who in my life can hold space for me without trying to rescue me? I'm going to say that one more time. Who in my life can hold space for me without trying to rescue me? You know, my grandmother used to say, when you hear phrases like that, that'll preach every day and twice on Sunday. So you want to find those people in your life that are safe, right? You want to find those people in your life who are good listeners, who just want to focus on what's going on with you. They're not trying to fix you. They're not trying to get you out of the situation. They're just focused on you, right? And everybody should have at least one friend like that. All right. So the last thing we want to do, the last coping mechanism, the last coping skill for dealing with PTSD that lives in the brain is we want to create a daily safety ritual. All right. Now, the reality is that PTSD often lives in a world that feels unpredictable. That's true, right? You'll never know what's coming up to the left or to the right or one day to the next, right? PTSD is very unpredictable, right? It sneaks up on you. Simple routines like the morning prayer, and not just the morning prayer, but getting up at the same time every morning, okay? Journaling, making tea, creating a very calming and soothing environment, right? Something that's comfortable for you. Okay. Maybe listening to music, organizing your space, right? These types of things can reintroduce structure and safety into your life, right? That makes room for you to start being normal or feeling good and feeling back to yourself again. All right. So Let's take this in baby steps, right? And let's ask ourselves, what's one thing you can do daily to remind yourself that you are safe? And to say to yourself, I'm safe right now, all right? Take a moment, pause, think about that, and I want you to do that thing today, just today, right? You don't have to make huge changes, right? Maybe a small incremental changes every day will help you to begin to cope, all right? So I want to remind everybody, you do not have to go at this alone, all right? Healing is not a straight line. It's not linear, okay? It takes different paths, right? It goes different ways, but healing is always and always will be possible, all right? So as we close, let me ask you this. Here's another miracle question. If your healing was guaranteed, if you could try anything and it would guarantee your healing, what exactly would you try? And what's one small action right now that you can take this week to honor your healing? I want to know what it is. If you really benefited from this video, and if it really spoke to you, and if it really helped you, I want you to leave a comment in the comment section. Okay, share it with somebody you care about, because the chances are there's probably someone who is very close to you, or lives in your neighborhood, or who you do sports with, or go to school with, or go to work with, that's dealing with these things. Okay. And make sure you continue to check in with us for more mental health strategies. There's going to be a lot more content like this, where I'll be sharing just different little tips, tricks, skills, and maybe even we'll go to some deep things, right, to deal with some very, very deep trauma in ways that you never even thought about. Okay. So I want to remind you, you are not your trauma. You are not your past. You're a warrior. Okay. Now it's time to fight the next fight, which is healing. Healing is your next mission. So thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Live royally and live well. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.